Hello, good evening, and welcome to another fresh edition of Road to 2023 on Symfoni. I'm Victor Irele, welcoming you to the program. On today's edition of the program, we'll be looking at implications on all the judgments on the case involving Mazin Nnamdi Kanu. There have been a number of updates since the October 13 appeal court judgment, and not just on Nnamdi Kanu, even for the legal team led by Ifeanyi EJIOFOR. He also has a case against the government. There has also been a judgment in their favor. We'll try to look at all of that. Last week he was supposed to be here, but was caught up in something very serious that made it unable for him to be physically present. But to underscore the fact that he was willing to come, he joined us virtually. And today he's here live on the program. And then, of course, the normal order of the program will still have them intact. But given the exigency of what we have today, we want to roll straight from the main focus today. And joining us live on the program is Barrister Sir Ifeanyi EJIOFOR, the lead counsel for the IPOB, and of course, our legal team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Fine, good to have you.
Thank you, Sir Vic,
Good
for
to
having me
it's a
once again on
pleasure.
your platform.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, you can, of course, join us on the program. There is a link on the screen with which you can follow to call, send messages. If you have a question, you want to send messages across, you are free. We also open phone lines for, you follow the link to call in case you have a question, comment for him to respond to. Okay? All right. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to Symfoni. Remember to hit the notification bell. So that's how we start today. We turn around everything, starting with the main focus. There have been a number of judgments in the last. As a matter of fact, somebody can say it's been good news all the way for you and the team the last couple of days. Let's start with the 27th of October 2022, the Federal High Court in Awka, presided over by Honorable Justice H.A. Ngajiwa, delivered a landmark judgment in the fundamental rights suit which you filed for your late personal assistant, Samuel Okoro, who was gruesomely murdered in your house, in ancestral home in Orifite, in Anambra State on the 6th of June 2021 by the joint team of Nigerian Police and, of course, operatives of the DSS and one Mr. Chukwuka Chizorom. How did you receive that judgment? I know you've been pursuing it for quite some time. How did you receive it, and what does it mean to you?
Thank you so much. We are very much delighted in the first place. Profoundly grateful to God for the justice, because it's, as commonly said, that justice breeds peace, but injustice breeds anarchy and lawlessness. The matter has been on since last year. Of course, the incident took place on 6th of June 2021, when my house was invaded by the joint team of the Nigerian police, the personnel of SSS, and soldiers, during which blood invasion, my PA, my late PA, Mr. Samuel Ozokoro, was gruesomely murdered in my place. His lifeless body dumped inside my Camry car and taken to somewhere in Anambra State, Nene precisely, and burnt along with the vehicle. So we went to court, of course. I have various actions I filed against them. The one I filed on my behalf, the one was delivered on 22nd of June this year. And I won it against the state, against the federal government, the police, the military, and the DSS. So the cost was also awarded. I also filed an action on behalf of my late PA. So for gross violation of his right to life, as constitutionally guaranteed under Chapter 4 of the Constitution. So, and that judgment was delivered on 27th of October 2022. I was personally in court to take the judgment, and it was a landmark judgment indeed because the court granted all the relief sought and also ordered that the heads of the security agents, starting from DSS, DG, SSS, and the Shiwami staff, and also the Inspector General of Police, who are all parties in the suit, and who are all defended in the suit too, should identify the people, their personnel who were involved in this dastardly acts. From, if I can borrow the language of the court, they were described in their meaning, true sense of meaning, as murderers and also monsters, soulless beings who don't deserve to be part of our security agents today. So identify them and accordingly sanction them. And well, that has been done. As I speak to you, I also have actions like fundamental rights action I filed against on behalf of my three of my domestic staff that were abducted during the process. So the matter is now in court of appeal. So because they have been denying ever having them in their custody, despite plethora of evidence to show that they are being detained today at DSS facility.
Up to now.
Up till now, fine. So
Since last year.
Since last year, and DSS has been denying heaven and earth ever having them, ever being part of the team, including the police and military. So now, if I may ask, apart from I've started a further court that has been a pronouncement by the judicial court on this subject, where the court found them liable because court watched the civic footage which captured the entire incident, how it happened, how they entered how they scared through the fence, opened my main gate, coming, how they killed my PA, how his level body was taken away from my house, how he was burned somewhere. So the camera captured the activities, their bloody activities in my home, and shows the identity of those. I mean, the identity of the security formations that were part of the bloody exercise. So now, I personally wrote to DGSSS complaining to him about the incident. I wrote to the Inspector of Police. I wrote to Chief of Army Staff shortly after the incident. But I was at home when this thing happened. And I was supposed to be the main target in that bloody onslaught. So by God, by sheer out of providence, I was alive. Not that I'm comfortable because my PA, who was so dear to me, was murdered. So then up till now, they've not responded. They've not responded to any of these petitions, and it was part of the findings of the court. If you are saying they are personnel, unlike the civil defense also who wrote them, and they investigated, they commenced investigation, they initiated investigation, they sent signal to the offices across the state, Anambra State, and eventually were exonerated because they were not part of the court found them as well not being part. The court exonerated them in judgment. So the SSS never responded to my petition. They never investigated it. They never invited me for further clarification on the petition I wrote to them since last year. The police never invited me for clarification or investigate my. They never investigate my complaint since applicable to military. Now, someone, the last person on the list, I mean the that should be the eighth respondent, Chukwuka Chuzorom, they call the AKA Jerry Speaks, one notorious criminal. The guy, few hours, this precisely happened around between the hour of 2 a.m. in the morning to 2:20 in the morning. As at 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning, this Chukwuka Chuzorom published his Facebook page the pictures of my boys, of my domestic staff, my wards, where they're being tortured, in the same clothes they were wearing when they were abducted, where they're being tortured, where they were handcuffed. Now, is it not a sufficient lead if at all they say they didn't come to my house for them to apprehend him? Let him tell you how he got that pictures. He published it, and also a signal was also published as to the group that were part of that participated in that operation. He also published the signal. So we intercepted this information and made it available to security agents to investigate. None of them investigated this. So why are they denying? Why are they denying? Today, apart from the fact that my client has made personal contact with my wards who are being detained today at the facility of the SS headquarters here in Abuja, we have people who were detained along with them, who has been granted bail on a different offenses, who passed messages to me, to us that are there. So why keeping them? Even against clear declaration of the court, directive of the court in my own case asked, directed them to release them. Apart from releasing them, to investigate those who were involved. Because the primary function of the security agents is to protect life, not to take lives. So the manner in which my house was invaded, they came to my house, is a clear demonstration of the fact that they actually came to my life. The intention, the intendment, the motive behind the operation was to kill me, assassinate me. And assuming they succeeded, if not, God forbid, they were simply denied they didn't come to my house. Just as they didn't know. They were simply denied they never came to my house, they were not part of Black Game. In fact, as a matter of fact, the military filed a response in their counter affidavit today in various actions I filed against them. They were attributing the identities of those that were in my house to unknown gunmen. It's laughable and ridiculous, but it's a serious issue. It's a serious issue. So, but that's where we are. We are in a system where there's no respect, no respect to court orders. Where we operate a system that have no regard for court orders, they have no regard to judicial process, they have no regard to human lives even. Assuming at times I would be thinking about this. Assuming I was caught up in the firework. Assuming I was killed, because the essence is to kill me. The game plan was to kill me. I was killed. We won't be talking about this today. It have been thrown into the dungeon of things forgotten and trespassed by now. But I cannot stop talking about it. Because I've taken serious steps to notify the international community about what's going on. Even the judgments delivered by the court has been forwarded to appropriate court. It cannot end there. So I'm equally using this opportunity to appeal to DGSS. I've personally retained him. When I got judgment on second of June 2022, I wrote him. I communicated that judgment to him. I forwarded that judgment to him, to the DGSS, and they are requested for them to release my boys. What offense have they committed? If they have committed an offense to law, they should charge them to court. Why deny them? They are there. They're in their custody. They are there. Why keeping them?
Of course,
Thank you so much.
the court also granted you, I think, 500 million in damages.
No, 155 million in
Million in
damages.
damages.
And
Yeah, so
cumulatively, I said it to someone today. I've sat down to articulate the amount of damages I've so far obtained against the federal government, the security agency. It's now coming to 855 million. In various cases, I find for the past 5 years. But I know one day there must be a way out to execute them. It's coming now. When I check my records, coming close to 8 million, and it was executed one day. Gone.
all right, and then that same last week, let's start from Umuahia. There was also another court judgment in favor of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, that the court ruled that the federal government should release him back to Kenya, and I think awarded a cost again
Sure.
against the federal government.
Sure.
What was the import of that particular judgment? And before I come to all this money accumulating, how you intend to go after all this money?
The fact is simple. On the 13th of October 2022, the Court of Appeal delivered a landmark judgment. The erudite panel of the National Justice Court of Appeal delivered a landmark judgment, wherein they found unequivocally the manner in which Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was abducted, kidnapped in Kenya, and consequently extraordinary rendition to Nigeria as a gross violation of his fundamental rights. Now, before this decision, the judgment was delivered on 13th of October. The matter in Omai has been filed, and that matter essentially borders on gross violation of his rights. Same issues that were determined by Court of Appeal. So that his rights was violated by virtue of the manner in which he was brought in here. So, and by virtue of the egregious manner in which the manner in which the state establishment, the state, I mean, the federal government violated international laws and treaties and conventions with their state parties to. So, and on 20 last week, court on here also found that his right was violated and accordingly awarded a cost of 500 million. So, and also made some far-reaching pronouncement, pronouncements, orders to that effect, wherein they directed the federal government uh, to restore him to status quo antebellum before he was abducted, meaning that he should send him back to Kenya. So, but they are talking to a state that has they are talking to a state or a government that has no respect for court orders. They can only obey orders that favors them. If they want to arrest you today, probably you are singled out now as the enemy, Savik, and they want to deal with you. They will go before your arrest and obtain black market order from either one of these magistrates or somewhere. Then once you're arrested, they will detain you. When you find someone file an application for a fundamental enforcement for a legal detention or arrest, they will furnish the court with that order that an order of court has been granted to detain you. So these are the type of orders they will obey. So when a court of competent jurisdiction make an order directing them to release a subject who they are being held illegally in their custody, they will not do. They will not comply. It's having the system. I cannot recall countless occasions I've initiated content proceedings against the DGSSS. I can't recall it. Countless occasions I've initiated countless content proceedings against them. And when you file, when there's when an order of court is being flouted by an establishment or an agency, and probably you want to compel obedience by following content by initiating content proceedings, because that initiating content proceedings will ensure obedience to court orders by force. Now, like I will give you an example what happened in Mazi Nnamdi Kanu case. There are several declarations made by, when I mean declarations in this context, most of them I mean orders of court, so or pronouncement orders of court. So there are several declarations made by His Lordship Honorable Justice Nyako J of Federal Court Number Two when we were before her, as in regards to the manner in which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be managed in the facility of SSS, the access to his personal physician, the access to a number of things. Physicians also allow him to practice religion of his choice and all whatnot. So these are orders, positive orders of court. They flouted it with impunity. Now, when we file a Form 48, Form 48 is classified under that procedure as a notice of consequence of disobedience to court order. When you file it, and before you file it, when you prepare the form to file in Federal High Court, the person that will authorize it is the chief registrar of the Federal High Court. Now, the person there has, in several occasions, frustrated us the process. Once you bring the process for him to file, to sign, he will not sign it. He will tell you to go to hell, go to hell if you want to go. So there's a conspiracy between the system there and also the institution. So that's hampered our effort to ensure that they comply with court orders. So some of these actions have been announced before the Court of Appeal. So because we have individual actions initiated in that respect, like when lawyers went to visit him, some former colleagues went to visit him, some of them were nearly stripped naked. So they challenged that treatment in Federal High Court, subsequently then Court of Appeal. So some of these actions have segments of cause actions are now before the Court of Appeal. So I'm just giving you an example of our handicap. So what I believe is because that we operate under a system that have no respect for the laws which they made, have no respect for the orders of the court, has no respect for the judiciary as an institution. Have no respect for judiciary as an institution. Because orders of court are meant to be obeyed. And non-obedience to court orders will only breed anarchy and lawlessness. It's just like what happened in Court of Appeal. The judgment of Court of Appeal delivered on 13th of October 2022 reinforces our belief in their belief in a common saying that judicial is the last hope of the common man. And because people were shocked, it's that judgment is still being celebrated across the world today. I can tell you, I received calls, emails from people across the world, from even foreign government and institutions. They couldn't believe. So it's worthy of celebration, it's worthy of commendation. The courage, the courage to do justice to all manner of men without favor, without fear and favor. The posterity will be kind to those judges that deliver that judgment. It's an erudite and watertight. And there's no escape to for the government as far as I'm concerned, that judgment.
Okay, now that you've talked about the 13th of October judgment, which the federal government went back to the appeal court to the 6th day of execution, which finally they got last week. Let's look at what is the implication of that judgment that they got last week from the same appeal court, even though under a different justice now.
I have consistently, uh, I've consistently been very careful about on my comments in regards to the the charade that took place last week. I actually don't want to prejudice or probably impugn the character of the high respected historical appeal. But the fact is that it promptly appeal against that ruling because that ruling has no foundation in law. So, and I believe that as Supreme Courts where we are now before, we are now on that appeal. So I believe they may have few words for them. Even a layman, if you bet, we're going to make the ruling available to the world tomorrow, and also our notice of appeal tomorrow. By this time, it will be trending tomorrow. So when you look at the ruling of the delivered, of the judgment of the Court of Appeal delivered on that application, then you look at our notice of appeal. Then you have to, when you put two and two together, you come to a conclusion. It's not unfortunate, right? So, and I may not go further than this, but what I'm telling you at this point in time that we have appealed against the notice ruling, staying the execution of the order of same Court of Appeal. So I may not go for. I don't want to be tempted because I'm very care. I know the kind of my person. I may go beyond to be tempted into casting aspersion. I don't want to go that. So let's stop here. So we have appeal against the ruling. It's now before the Supreme Court, and thankfully, it's going to be treated under Supreme Court fast track rules. So, and I believe they may have few words for them when eventually the matter is when it's had before the Supreme Court.
When you say Supreme Court fast through, what do you mean?
It's it's a procedure. That's like when it comes to have rule of courts, you have fast track rules means a procedure under which an action can be had speedily. So instead of if an action, if a process or an action being had under this rules, under this fast track procedure, conventional, I mean, you are giving, you're supposed to be giving up, has been 30 days, 30 days to respond and file and respond. But under fast track, your time is limited. So you may be given 5 days or 7 days under that fast track in view of nature sensitivity of the case. But there are classes of cases that are being had under this fast track with the Supreme Court. Steps applicable to Court of Appeal. Like in Mazin Namdekan's case was had under fast track with the Court of Appeal. Although it was hard expeditiously because of the nature of the case. Seems applicable to Supreme Court. So it will be given expeditious hearing attention in view of the class, of the nature of the case. So
All right, last week as well, so much. It looks as if all these things were just happening last week. Last week also, we had the governors of the Southeast coming out to say that maybe the political solution still remains an option for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. That has generated its own controversy. Some persons have said maybe they are right, and there are those who have said is the president willing for a political solution, since he had also said before that there is no political solution to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case? So, what's your take on the Southeast governor's sudden position on Nnamdi Kanu preferring a political solution to it?
thank you so much. I must first of all express my reservation about their approach and interventions. In as much as I am of the firm view that political solution it cannot be overruled, but that shouldn't be the first item to be on the table now. So I was expecting them long before now to make pronouncements in regard to the judgment of the Court of Appeal delivered on October 13th, 2022. We are talking about a judgment delivered by the Court of Competent Jurisdiction. We're not talking about a judgment delivered by a High Court. We are talking about a judgment delivered by the Court of Appeal. Now, exonerating Nnamdi Kanu, a judgment that discharged him, a judgment that, in that judgment, prohibit the federal government from prosecuting him, from subjecting him to any trial before any court in this country, from further investigating him. That's the purpose of that. That's the pronouncement, the declarations of that judgment. So, in other words, the judgment placed a bar on his further prosecution, trial before any court, further detention. So now this is a very, very, very far-reaching pronouncement that, in essence, has clearly exonerated Nnamdi Kanu of the allegations against him. In principle, now I had expected them, because they are away, to at least issue a communique, issue a statement to that effect, either urging on the federal government to obey this judgment of the Court of Appeal, obey the court orders, then now come back. They can still come back to federal government and say, okay, release this guy, let him go and treat himself. We can talk about, they can now probably talk with him and agree on solutions, political solutions to the situation, the case, because the case is gone, the political solution they're talking about. So that should be secondary in the prevalent circumstance. You can't be talking about a political solution in the matter when someone is in gross violation of court order. You are, by talking about solution, by making suggestion for political solutions, you are in effect sanctioning the federal government in discretion to court order. That's what I'm doing. I respected them. I had people issue statements. A lot of people issue statements. Padebanjo issue statement. They made a comment. Edwin Clark also made a comment. Or Southeast Senate Caucus also made a comment. Southeast House of lawmakers made a comment. All in accord that now the Kanu should be released. Federal government should obey court order. We are there. In fact, let me say this to you. I must say this thing at this point in time. I am beginning to be convinced. I am beginning to convince, without prejudice to their position, that if not all of them or some of them must have been responsible for the Nnamdi Kanu trial. I can say that because I'm worried. I am worried, seriously worried. I will give you an instance. Few months back, Governor of Anambra State visited Nnamdi Kanu in NSS custody. I had a good, frank discussion with him. And at the end of the discussion, visit, he issued a statement urging on the federal government to grant a selected hearing to this case. Are you with me? So his fight will be determined. And we welcomed it. We are ready to progress. We welcomed it. Now, and we have no objection. He commit some condemnations about the insecurity in the southeast, particularly in the Anambra State then, which I also issued a statement on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu. He also in condemning the insecurity, rising insecurity in Anambra State then. Now, a court of appeal has delivered a judgment. I'm not talking about federal high court. I'm talking about intermediate court, a penultimate court, a court of superior records, a court of competent jurisdiction, a court manned by erudite three-legged justice of appeal, delivered a judgment. What stopped that person, that His Excellency, from making a comment? I'm talking about him in this case. Because he visited Nnamdi Kanu. I'm not talking about others. I've addressed their own case. But in this case, he visited Nnamdi Kanu, had a discussion with him. Why can't you urge on the federal government to obey that court order? Obey it. Then, after probably making this, they can come to them. You can still approach them. If the disobedience continue, you can now probably send a delegate to the federal government to find out why they are not ready to obey this court order. A discussion can now take place. So by talking about, in fact, as a matter of fact, political solution in their communique was mentioned in person. It wasn't a subject. Go and read that communique. It was mentioned in
I'll do
person.
it.
It wasn't a subject of discussion. So in actual words, they are not interested in what's in the Namdekano's fate. It was mentioned in person.
Why do you think that the Southeast governors are, let me use the word, measurably indifferent or detached from the issue of Nnamdi Kanu? Like you pointed out, the Court of Appeal judgment was a veritable platform for them
Sure,
to relaunch
of
themselves, even if
course.
they have made mistake in the past.
Mm.
What do you think, or why do you think they seem to be indifferent or unperturbed
I can't speak.
about?
I can't, Mr. Savik. I can't speak for them. I can. I won't enter their mind to know to determine what they have in mind. But I've assessed their response, level of response to the court judgment of the court, and I was express my own observation about that. That they're not. I don't think they're forceful about the entire thing. They're interested in the first place. So my own understanding of their approach is that they're not interested in making contribution or getting themselves involved in probably ensuring Nnamdi Kano's freedom. So I don't think that's my own understanding of what they're doing. But I can't. I'm not in their mind. I can't determine what they have in mind. So that's my own observation.
Let me bring this thing before I get our friends online to be part of the show. The federal government tended to hinge their argument on non-release of Nnamdi Kanu as posing potential danger, releasing him, posing danger in the southeast, and of course being a high flight risk. What's your take on that?
That argument is unfounded in law, unfounded in principle, unfounded in facts. We addressed them squarely in court. It was raised in court, and we addressed them. Okay, let me give you an instance. On the 13th day of October 2022, Nnamdi Kanu was discharged and another was made for him to be released. Then you will observe that the entire Southeast, South, even in Abuja, were locked in happiness. We were celebrating. I came here, I featured in your program. I told you that the charge has been buried, that the funeral was still going on, still going on at time I was with you. So people are happy. So if he's released, we inthrone anarchy, violence. Will people celebrate it? The answer is no. Rather, his release will even ensure peace. It will ensure peace. It will restore normalcy, restore peaceful atmosphere in the southeast. I can beat my chest and say that to you 100%. People will be happy. People are happy. People are willing to. Okay, now, like what you are seeing today in the entire southeast, every Monday people start home. Nobody's compelling them to start home. Nobody's compelling them. As a matter of fact, my clients I represent, IPOB, they've gone public to ask people to go about their normal business on Mondays. And even issue threats that anybody who come out to enforce this at home will be dealt with. That will tell you their level of seriousness to ensure that the at home is stopped. People doesn't want to stop it. They said that will be their sacrifice they will pay for having Nnamdi Kanu being in custody. That once he's released, they will go back to their normal life. They're not being compelled. I traveled for a court last week for court matters and also to attend my auntie's burial. I came back. In fact, I came back on Monday morning. My driver drove me all the way from my house to Asaba Airport. I didn't see anybody on the road, and nobody threatened us. From my house, from Orifte to Asaba Airport, nobody threatening us. You won't see anybody with any form of arm trying to stop anyone who is no. So it's a resolve by people that they will not go anywhere on Mondays until they are posting and they can released. So his release today will restore total normalcy and normal lives in the southeast. This has been we have stressed this point beyond to a level that even a layman on the street, the person on the street will understand it. So that argument is dead on arrival. He's completely dead on arrival. And also, I last week I saw where it's being. I saw I read something. I read something on paper about the interview granted by the late Attorney General of the Federation, and I felt sorry for the entire opinion because I never knew. I was just like I was dumbfounded, and I choose not to. I choose after going through reading his interview, I deliberately choose not to respond to it because I can't understand. This is a matter before the court, and if I believe if they've gone through the judgment of the Court of Appeal, delivered on 13th of October 2022, he will come to a hard reality, hard conclusion that he cannot take any further step against Nnamdi Kanu. You cannot file any action against him. You cannot prosecute him. You cannot even investigate him. I would be. So he cannot be talking about the offenses, the charge pending before he was criminally criminally abducted and smuggled to Nigeria. And it's more so when when that charge has been struck out. So I stand today that Nnamdi Kanu is not facing any charge again. He's been struck out. There's no such charge again. There's no any case against him before any court now pending any allegations against Nnamdi Kanu pending any court. And that charge has passed through metamorphosis of amendment. Are you getting me? Upon being brought in here, they amended the charge. Remove almost all those allegations pending before he was there. Before he was an attempt was made at killing him on 14th of September 2017. They amended the charge, removed the entire old charge, and brought in the entire new charge. So even if you restore that old charge back, the court said you cannot prosecute him. Simple. What's difficult about it? It's simple.
All right. Thank you very much. Barrister Sir Ifeanyi EJIOFOR, lead counsel for IPOB and member of the legal team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, giving us updates on the series of court judgments that have gone in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and himself in the last 1 week. As a matter of fact, it's been, if you like, you can say it's been a season of celebration for them, winning all the way the cases in courts. So we may want to hear from you. James is joining us from the Gambia. James, let's hear your take. Paulie Wunze joining us from the US. Well, let's hear from you in case you have a question from him or comment or reaction.
Thank you, Mr. Victor. Welcome back, our able barrister.
Thank you so much, Uncle. God bless you.
Barrister, first, when you talked about you beginning to believe that some of the governors are responsible. Listen, Barrister, it's obvious they are responsible. In fact, they are responsible for everything that is bad in the eastern region. They are responsible for that because they are we send them to represent us on the federal level and the state level, but they never represent. They don't represent the people. Rather, they serve the people for state power. That is what they do. And when they talked about political solution, Barrister, don't listen to them. You and your team, don't listen to them. They are not in the position to talk about how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be released. They are not in position. They are not part of his legal team. Why are they talking about political solution? Is Nnamdi Kanu vying for any political office? Listen, what they are saying, when they talk about political solution, that is for themselves. What they will gain politically, because they are the politicians. That is what they are talking about. So you and your team don't listen to them. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not vying for any political office. So political solution shouldn't come into it. It should be resolved in court process. And the court has given their verdict. The federal government decided to, disobey court order. That is what they do. So political solution shouldn't come into it, because if political solution comes into it, it is for those. I don't want to use the word I want to use for them, but it is in their own gain. It is not for Mazen and the Kano. And I just want to ask this question. Some time ago, we heard that UN gave Nigerian government ultimatum to release Mazen and the Kano unconditionally. What happened? What happened to that order from the UN? Nigerian government, they don't obey court order, Nigerian court order. They still have the power to, not to obey the UN. I'm wondering what went wrong there. And I think I heard that the court discharged Mazen Nnamdi Kanu of the 7 count charges leveled against him. If I'm right, they discharged him, right, Barrister?
Sure. And suck out the charge.
Okay. So now, where are they standing? What are their reasons? I mean, the federal government. Because if you want to hold somebody, even if they want to violate court order, they have to say, okay, they have to give an excuse. Okay, it's because of this remaining charge that he is still guilty of. That is why we are keeping him. So, what are their reasons? It's just in maybe one word that a layman can understand. What are their reasons? And thirdly, Barrister. Barrister, do you think, because I believe that that this is a tribal sentiment, that is why they are holding Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Because in my opinion, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu haven't done anything wrong. So he shouldn't be in the position where he is today. So do you think that this is a tribal sentiment? That is why they are keeping him. They arrested him, they kidnapped him in the first place, and the reason why they violated the court order, do you think is a tribal sentiment?
He has noted them. He will respond. Obi also joining us from the US. Obi, let's hear you.
Yeah, Mr. Victor, thank you, Barrister EJIOFOR, for coming back again, although the last time you were on the phone. Just keep doing what you are doing. I can see the stress in your face, but it's unfortunate that is Nigeria for you. We copy from the Western world and paste the one we want to paste and put the other one in the West bin. In all of this action that government is dropping or is showing to the judiciary system, is it not an impeachable offense? Why can't you or your team, even the House member, go to the Senate and lobby to move a motion of impeachment? What is even the reason of going to court when you know when the judge give rulings, or when there is a judgment, one party will not obey the court ruling? Why do we have a judiciary system? My question there is, why is NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, refuse to do something in order to keep the integrity of the judiciary system? This is exactly what police officers do. They will conspire with the court people, magistrate court, and intentionally send people, I'm talking about in the lower case matters, and send people to a wrong magistrate court, which the magistrate court will give will decline the case and say, this is not my jurisdiction. At the same time, give a tough bail requirement, which the other party will not meet up, and the person will end up in prison or awaiting trial. It's been going on. It's only in Nigeria is a place whereby if I have money in my village and anybody that dare challenge me, I will go to police station, bribe some police officers, put him in prison or in ATM or in cell, and throw away the key in the ocean. You know what I mean by that. It happens in the eastern part of the Nigeria a lot. So where is the NBA? in all of this abuse of judiciary system? Are they not supposed to be independent in the government? From the last time I read government, I knew that they have three arms of government and they are all independent. Why are the senators, which is the lawmakers, allowing the state, which are the executive, which is the president, intimidating the judiciary, which is supposed to be by themselves? Where is the NBA? They're supposed to step up in order to keep the integrity of the judiciary system, because that's where they work. On what you said, I know that is still a matter in the court. I know you are not supposed to discuss about it. You were dodging it, but I'm going to help you to finish the last ruling regarding to the one that they gave the government. You know what it is? Those people that gave the judgment in favor of Nnamdi Kanu was removed, intentionally removed, in a appearance that they are trying to reshuffle, normal reshuffle. That's a lie. You and I know that they were removed intentionally and put the judges, which our hero, Mr. Felaran Sankutu, used to call zombie judges. That's who they are there. Follow. That's the people that they put there to do what they were told to do. I know it cannot come from your mouth, but it will come from us. We are civilians. You know, we can say what we want to say. Okay. Another thing I want to mention about the governors. I see and I believe that I don't know, I don't have any evidence or know if the governors, Southeast governors are in his detention matter or whatever. But all I see is the governors have seen that the government is not obeying the judiciary system. They are not obeying the court order. And it's not a new thing to them. The governors even don't obey court order too. So it started from the head all the way to the tail. The judiciary system is dead in Nigeria. Okay, so they found out that there's no need for us, for you. I know it hurts when you are doing a good job and the job you are doing it correctly and it's not yielding any fruit because somebody is abusing his power. Somebody think I am in charge. It's very, very painful. I understand, and I've been in your case. It's like me too. Sometimes I'll be doing a job at my work. At the end of the day, nothing will be coming out because somebody is stepping on one or two things about it. So the thing there is the governors are trying to do, because they are already saying that the court system have failed. So they want to try a political system. That's not a political solution. So there is nothing wrong. All they need to do is to go and beg the governor, president, and say, release this man, and president will open his mouth, and now the Kalu will be gone. But they don't want to do it because it's a power struggle. We have a presidential candidate yesterday in this program. Somebody asked him a question. He hit it at the nail one time. If I got sworn in today, now the Kalu will be. The next comment after swearing is Nnamdi Kanu should be released. Just the release. Just the first thing he would say from the office or from the table where he was sworn in. And he's not only one in that position. A lot of presidential candidate is on the same position. Then my question again, one question, please. One question, Barrister EJIOFOR. Whose job is it to restore integrity on the judiciary system of Nigeria? And why is the person not doing it?
Okay, thank you very much. Chichi Albert, where are you joining us from? Okay, James, let's hear from you, James, joining us from the Gambia. James?
Thank you. I'm sure you can hear me.
Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
can hear you.
I was unavoidably absent for some minutes during the course of the discussion. But however, may I find out something from the learned gentleman by you? In England, they have 4 inns of the court. Am I right? They have 4 inns of the court. In England, they have 4 inns of the court. Lincoln's Inn, Grey Inn, Inner Temple, and Middle Temple. The line is not very okay. Anyway, If you are
Go
We're
ahead. We
hearing
are
hearing
me,
you.
listening.
We're
I
hearing. Go on.
assume that they have 4 inns in England: Lincoln's Inn, Grace Inn, Inner Temple, and the Middle Temple. Any lawyer after graduating from university can register with any of these 4 and practice law in England. That is not the case in Nigeria. They only have one Nigerian Bar Association. That should come to an end, because from what we are seeing in a federal republic, the kind of things happening now should not happen. We are operating the federal system because of the diversities. If we try to be a unitary government like in Ghana, the Gambia, Kenya, and most other countries, the diversities is not enough, it's not complex enough to enable them run the federal system. So if we have so many, if the diversity is so complex, there is need for us to break this, Nigerian Bar Association into different organizations. In the past, we had Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria as the only accounting body in the country. Later on, they formed another one they call Association of National Software Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN. I think their headquarters was around at Macaulay Way in Lagos those days, in Yaba. Now, there was push and pull before this association was given the license to operate. The Bar Association should be split into as many groups as possible, because if the government of the day is flouting the law and the so-called learned gentlemen are all folding their arms and clapping for the government and talking big empty grammar, how is it that why should the judiciary be the last hope of the common man? The bar is there to protect the law, to enforce, to make sure that the law is enforced the way it should be enforced. So I'm advocating that there is need for the bar, for us to have other bars or other associations doing the same thing as what the bar is doing. Because if the bar is not crying out, other associations will cry out. Now, political solution to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu should be completely off table. As I said on this platform about a few weeks or days ago, when Ikemba was asked to come back from Ivory Coast, he came back on pardon, and there were political strings attached to it. This push and pull going on, there are things going on behind the scene which you and me are not seeing. And if Nnamdi Kanu should fall in for it, these people will have a lot to regret in time to come. And also, in my opinion, it is improper to call the courts court of competent jurisdiction. They are courts of incompetent jurisdictions. And the last point I want to make is that among these people, among the Nnamdi Kanu's people, they have a problem which other parts of the country, particularly the Yorubas, do not have. In Yoruba land, they have traditional institutions, well entrenched and respected institutions. The Awujale of Ijebu land, the Oni of Ife, the Alaafin of Oyo. There are so many of them, and they know how they relate with each other. Unfortunately, the Igbos don't have that political system. They have an acephalous political organization, which is working and which is not working in their favor. The governors supposed to play the role the traditional institutions are playing in the West. You look at the way they handled Sunday Igboho's case. It was so neat, so quiet. There was no rancor among them because they know where they settled everything among themselves. Unfortunately, that is not the case with the East. And this is one of the reasons why the Ikemba lost the Civil War. While the war was on, some were with Yakubu Gowon, while the others were with him. I remember this man, what's his name? The first governor of the East, Ukpabi Asika, was on the side of Yakubu Gowon. Zeke was neither here nor there. It was total confusion. This is because there's no rallying point for them to
All right,
achieve their goal.
James.
So the governor called to order. This is my opinion.
Thank you very much. So we want Sir EJIOFOR to respond to the questions some of you raised, and the comments you raised.
Let me quickly summarize my response to a number of concerns raised by the callers. First of all, I may not go into detail, but first of all, let me just address the aspect that has to do with the communication from United Nations Working Groups on Arbitrary Detention. They gave federal government 6 months to within which to comply with the directives. Otherwise, they will start taking some administrative action against the federal government. And their pronouncement, their communication has to do with unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu and payment of adequate compensation to that effect. This communication has been served on the federal government, and up till now, they've not responded before the judgment of Court of Appeal was delivered on October 13th. So, also coupled with the federal government, Federal High Court judgment also delivered on 27th of October. Now, so it's an indication, a clear demonstration that the government of the day is not only lawless, but they have no respect for the rule of law. So let me, because some people that are called from outside the country may not understand what's so terrible here. We operate, we are into a system that is highly compromised. I will use myself as an example. I'm a senior member of the bar. My house was last year, 6th of June, 2021 invaded. During the process, my PA was gruesomely murdered. It's a matter of common knowledge. I wrote to MBA. I'm a member of MBA, very financial up to the member of MBA. The MBA as a body, what step did they take in assisting me in the case? Nothing. They didn't do anything. Even when judgment has been delivered, have they done anything to date? No. The point that the entire thing has been politicized and the system has been compromised. Some of you must have been privileged or probably privy to the facts of the manner in which some judges houses that was sometime in the past being embedded at wee hours of the night. Some judges were arrested and the first trials at some point and being discharged. So you're in a system where people are being intimidated, people are being oppressed. Let me give you an example. Let me just say this thing. Assuming without considering to the facts, assuming that the 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 government is fully aware about what is in the offing about the judgment of delivered on October 13th. Assuming it's a place where people will be communicated about what they have to do, what they will say in court during being delivered. I can assure you that the system will go to court of appeal and burn that court of appeal the day before the judgment was delivered. It can do what's possible. As when they preempted the judgment. So that will tell you how lawless the system is. So it's not what's obtainable here is far from what you are seeing over there. You are living in an organized society, organized, civilized world. So here is not civilized. Here anything goes. We have a government that have no respect for an institution of a judiciary, have no respect for court orders. We are now have been enumerating the orders of court and judgment of courts. They are flouting with impunity, and nobody calls them to question. We are talking about impeachment. Who will initiate it? Who will have the effrontery to move a motion for instance of president of the country? Who will have the effrontery? Go and try it. The next day before even you move that motion before the front of the house. The next day nobody will see you again on the street of Abuja or anywhere you are or wherever you are. So we are in a system where people are being oppressed, intimidated. Security agents are being sent across before to intimidate people, to citizens who voice their hand, uh, 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 who raise concerns or who want to condemn the actions of the government. But also to be fair to some of the seniors, some senior colleagues like Femi Falana and others also made statement and issue statement and call on federal government to obey court orders. Individually, some of them, majority of the lawyers I know, like Chief Obani and Co. from Lagos, and many of them also issue statement that the question pleading with the federal government to obey court orders. These are policy orders of court that must be obeyed. So let me give you an example. Somebody who talk about discrimination. On Monday this week, one Major Seni was discharged and acquitted. The matter was handled by Court of Appeal Abuja. The matter was handled by Chief Michael Zekome SA. He was accused of committing offense of manslaughter and convicted by the lower court, sentenced to to 10 years imprisonment, Major Seni. And only on Monday, he was discharged by the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, and acquitted. As I speak to you, Major Seni left the Kuje prison facility this morning. So federal government was fast enough to obey that order. That will tell you the level of discrimination. I will let you, if you call it discrimination, it can fit in properly the context. So we cannot relent. I can assure you, we cannot relent. We must continue to explore all legal remedies available, explore the rule of law to ensure that we get the best. But I can assure you that victory shall continue to be ours because they are far from getting it right. The judgment is on our side. We have gotten judgment in the Court of Appeal, and the judgment is watertight. And from from the notice of appeal they filed in courts, let me don't probably prejudice the mind of the justice of Supreme Court, but I know that the appeal they are filing before the Court of Appeal Supreme Court is what. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Just still stay online. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the program continues. Engineer Femi